Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week of Friday Night Pro Football Talk. I'm Dad Man Walking 55, welcoming you here, and hopefully we'll have some fun tonight and just chat about some interesting things and some trends and just have some memories and recall old football seasons from years ago and just have fun talking a little bit about the new, what's current, and what's old. So thank you for being here, whether you're going to watch it live on YouTube, live on Twitch. If you're just able to lurk tonight, we love lurkers. If you watch it later on review, awesome. Just we love everybody and all the exposure we can get, and we're just among friends here. If you follow us, if you watch it on the Twitch side, make sure you follow us, and if you're on the YouTube side, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We're at 107 on YouTube, 65 on Twitch, and let's just keep growing and having fun together. And my goal is to make this fun. I've had 13 weeks and bowl games of college football. Then we're going to get in when it really matters to the NFL a little bit, to the playoff season. So, well, what is football, NFL football, without having a great voice? Well, that's not me. That great voice is my special guest, the man himself, the clobberer of all clobbers, the great Clobbering Times. Hey, Clobby.
Hey, thank you for that kind introduction.
Absolutely.
Good to see you, buddy. And I'm glad to be here. Listening out there is lurking, and thank you, buddy.
With your avatar, you're one of the rocking voices on YouTube, buddy.
Yeah. We rock it. We both rock it here, man.
Yeah. Clobbering. Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it.
How have you been today? How's your week been?
Oh, it's not too bad, man. Not too bad. It's always well, we're here, aren't we? And we're starting off a new year. Kind of a nutty start to a year, really, but I think.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it has been. You just keep going. Just keep going.
Yes, sir.
Well, welcome. We got a few things to cover tonight. So let's say hi to people in the chat that are here already. How about that? Oh, my gosh.
I was making my new avatar. I figured we should be appropriate for the,
Let me see. Let me experiment with this. Let me see if there you go. I made it a little bit bigger.
Hello, everybody. We got some friends in the chat, looks like.
Yes, we do.
People here. Oh, man, I forgot to put out the word. Let me go see if I can put out the word.
That's okay. That's good. I'm trying to make you as big as you can be. There you go. The Clobbering Times on the logo. But hey, while you're doing that, I'm going to say hello to a few people that are here. And of course, the Snortopoopas Q Burr, who has earned that title, Clobby, because of the Ohio State University. So
is he a fan of them?
No, when we had our college football preview show, we were picking on the name of the Ohio State, because they have to be the Ohio State.
Right.
So
yes.
So with that, sorry about that. With that, we decreed that he would be the Snortopoopas Q Burr because he's that unique, great bear out there. So he is the Snortopoopas Q Bear. And hello to the great and wonderful Daisy Blossom. Howdy. Glad you're here tonight.
Hey.
And also to Gaming Watt. Hey, buddy. How are you doing? And thanks for being here, man. Hope we can talk some good NFL football tonight. So, and of course, the wonderful, gracious, beautiful, my staff, who's much more than staff, the great Mrs. Dadman Walking. Hello, watching me on both channels, modding for me. So, I think with that, that's everybody's here, and they're all saying hello to each other. So,
hey,
all righty. Well, as you last week we talked about some of our past likes and history with the NFL and things we did go back, and we talked about the golden era of the 60s, 70s, 80s of football and things like that. Let's just start out with a good fun topic tonight, Clobby, about what we like before we look at where things are now. Quarterbacks,
Yeah.
One thing that has defined
most important position in all the sports.
Exactly, and starting NFL quarterback, and it demands a high level of performance. They're always under a microscope. Um, I want to throw out there, and we talked about so many quarterbacks last week, but did you have one favorite quarterback for whatever reason, whether you love the way they played or you just for whatever reason? What is that? Was that one quarterback that you or who is that you just you would consider your favorite?
Boy, it's tough, because of until something happened, with the NFL. We've talked about a lot recently.
Mm-hmm.
My hero was the guy that gave me the world championship that as a fan I never thought I would have, and that was of course Drew Brees. But I grew up, my all-time favorite quarterback has always been Johnny Unitas, the grandfather of the position, pretty much. I mean, you could share some of that when he could share some of that grandfather of position title with Otto Graham, but it's Johnny Unitas. Johnny U was always, to me, he was always if I had a personal favorite, as just growing up as a kid when I first started watching NFL football, and although he was pretty much getting out of the league by the time I was starting to watch, because I watched all these NFL films, read books about him, all this stuff, Johnny U is the one I've admired the most and been the biggest fan of, I had to say. Johnny Unitas was just the greatest.
How many? I know he played for several teams. I think Baltimore.
Only two. Good. I'm sorry.
I think he was most of his career was Baltimore, right?
Well, what happened was he came out of Louisville and he was drafted by the Steelers and then cut. And they were bad. Steelers are a notoriously horrible team. But they cut him. He played a little semi-pro football, but he got back in and managed to get a tryout with the brand new Baltimore Colts, which was not the first Baltimore Colts. It was actually a Baltimore Colts that but they were in the All-American Football Conference until they were called the Miami Seahawks, believe it or not. And then they became the Baltimore Colts. Then they went out of business after a year or two, and then eventually became the newer Baltimore Colts. And he went there after being cut. Can you imagine they got cut by the Steelers? And they were notoriously lousy. They were the worst team around. They had didn't win anything to the 70s. Well, it's not a wonder with how bad they were. So he came along and, of course, went back and went the Colts and then got them the most important championship of all time, the 1958 championship. He did other things like he had a streak of consecutive games with at least one touchdown pass that stood until Drew Brees topped it in 2012, I think. By the time it took him, it was 47 straight passes. And this is in the 50s, dude.
Yeah.
The 50s. The run the ball 50s with nine. He came up with he and Raymond Berry, his wide receiver, came up with all of the most complex of route running and all this other stuff. And they used to stay in all hours into the night working on different schemes and stuff. He really created the long range passing game. And he is, so he had a couple of great championships. Of course, he also has a Super Bowl ring. Mm-hmm. And yeah, was again, when all said and done, he ended his very last year. He ended it with the Chargers.
Okay.
But, so yeah.
And you said Raymond Berry. Is that the same Raymond Berry that was the head coach for the New England Patriots?
That is correct. He was Johnny Unitas' favorite receiver, and he did become a coach for the Patriots for a while. Yeah.
Wow. Even I'm old. I know that. I remember that name.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Cool.
No, yeah.
Well, because see, Unitas preceded me really, and like you said, the 50s.
Well, me too. Yeah,
that was a time when you did not throw the football. It was running. No. It was and the 50s would have been before the merger between the two leagues, right?
Yeah, the merger was 1970. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So because that's why we have 50-something Super Bowls now is because of starting from the 70 and on.
Right. Yep. This logo I'm using right there for the NFL Shield there is the old 60s logo, or that's the pre-merger logo or whatever. Because later now they have one with just the 4 stars on it because there was.
I love that old logo though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me say what Daisy
Joe
said.
Montana. Yeah.
Joe Montana. Yep.
Here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Think about Joe Montana. And I don't subscribe to this, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But Joe Montana, half of his career he played with some of the unbelievable talent. But the first 2 Super Bowls he didn't play with gigantic talent. He was amazing. So Joe Montana was a surgeon on the football field. That's what he was referred to.
Mhm.
Quite rightly so. So, and at the time, I remember some of the guys who were coaching Montana, their template was Johnny Unitas. Now, Ronnie Lott, the great 49ers, probably the greatest defensive back ever played the game. He was asked when he was asked at one of these Hall of Fame ceremonies,
Mhm.
who's the quarterback you would have most wanted to play against out of history to challenge yourself? Who would you have most wanted to play against? Because he couldn't play against Montana, most because they were on the same team. He said Johnny Unitas. I mean,
Yep.
they had the respect for the great one. Yeah.
Yep.
John Constantine Unitas.
And did you say what college Unitas came from? Did I
Louisville.
miss it? Louisville. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a surprising school. I mean,
It is.
Yeah,
Because they weren't big at the time or anything. I mean, like I said, he came out into the pros, gets drafted by the Steelers, cut, and ends up in semi-pro football for a very short time.
wow. That's amazing. Well, you're going to know who my favorite quarterback is of all time.
I might have heard of him. Who is it?
Yeah. And it's not Tim Tebow, but yeah.
I was thinking Tebow, man. Okay, no, okay.
Yeah. But actually, it goes back to the 70s. It's Roger the Dodger Staubach.
Oh, he's my number 2 or 3. So I love him, dude. Love
just
him.
watching the way he could escape and elude and never panicked, rallied the teams. And it's amazing because didn't he actually, he went to the U.S. Naval Academy, never known for throwing the football. He served his time, I believe, and then
5 years.
5 years, and then comes back into the league and performs at the level he did.
Right. He got drafted by the Cowboys, but instead of going into the league, he went to the Navy, went and served his time in the Navy for 5 years before he came out. So he was, only played 10 years in the league because of that.
I did not realize it had been 5 leagues, but 5 years. Nowadays it's 2, and you barely get them to serve.
I'm sure he spent
5
2
years.
Yeah.
But it was just always amazing, seeing who he played with. Now I will, you can always say he was around great talent too. Look, he had Tony Dorsett.
Again, like Montana though, the second half of his career, his first Super Bowl that he got, they weren't loaded at all. They had a great defense.
Yeah, the Doomsday defense. Yeah.
And he had Calvin Hill and Dan Reeves, and he had running backs that were okay. He had, he had Lance. He didn't have Lance Allworth, who had moved over from the Chargers, and he had Mike Ditka at tight end, but they weren't like an offensive juggernaut like they were later when he ended up getting a second one.
And see, that's what I remember more is the second half, like the later 80s with Dorsett and those. Yeah, because I was older and I could remember, had more memory of things like that. The early years I was really, really young. But I tell you, hey, this is how much I loved the NFL and the Cowboys back then. There was one Monday night football game that was on Halloween. I went out. I did it 20 minutes of trick or treat and got back to the house to watch Monday Night Football. I was like, the heck with that. I was like, my priority was watching. But you know what happened that night? And I'm glad because I remember it. I got to watch the longest touchdown run in NFL history, which was Tony Dorsett on that 99-yarder against the Minnesota Vikings.
Yes, sir.
I love that. So
it's funny how how you talk about announcers, and we talked about a little bit of announcers last week. I can remember that call by Frank Gifford. It says big opening for Tony Dorsett, and boom, he's just gone, man. Took that right up the gut and then took it out to the right side of the field. Went down the sideline. I mean, Dorsett was fantastic, man. One of the greatest.
Absolutely. Absolutely, he was. And, that's back in the day before they had all these things like third down backs and specialists and everything else. These guys went out and played every down.
Well, your boy Landry, the great Tom Landry, revolutionized it. I think he, in my opinion, if he didn't create it, he did sort of introduce the third down back because he had a guy named Robert Newhouse on that team.
I remember Newhouse more as a fullback, but
yeah, he was a fullback, but they used him as a receiver out of the backfield. Shula didn't really use Zonka as a receiver that much, did he? I mean, Robert Newhouse was a good receiver.
Yeah, that I tell you, I tell you,
But you're
Tom
right.
Landry was one of the most innovative coaches of all times. Between the flex formation on defense, yeah, like you mentioned, they're using the backs. I just, we talked about how his career ended, sadly, but he really transitioned. Was responsible for a lot of changes in the game.
Well, he
What we see
revolutionized film.
nowadays.
Using film study.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of, and using higher technology involved with football. That was Landry.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
The later guys like Bill Walsh,
Yeah. You know what did the thing with me, and this shows you how old I am. My current boss has always said I was born old. One of the most still things that I loved about Tom Landry that I think all these coaches should have to do now. Mm-hmm. The hat could be optional, but they should wear a suit on the field.
Yeah, they used to all have to wear that damn suit. I'm sure they're glad they don't have to, though.
No, I'm sure, especially when you're in Florida and it's 100 degrees outside. Yeah.
I don't think you can get a lot of support from the coaches on that one.
No, you're not. I know, but it's just how old school I go back.
No, look, hey, I got you. There was a look to that, wasn't there? There was something kind of special about that.
Absolutely, it distinction. That's what it does. It's a model of respect. So.
But some of them never wore the. I remember Madden stopped wearing the suits, and they just started dressing normal. Like some of those guys didn't wear the suits after a while. But Tom Landry was the last guy doing it. As Staubach called him when he gave that tearful speech about his retirement, because he called him the man with the funny hat.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, that's great. So how about before we look at the standings, why don't we take a look at a little funny thing?
Sure.
How would that sound? Now, this is where I got to not boomer it, and I make sure I bring things up in the right way. There's no pressure. No pressure.
You can do it, buddy. You can do it.
Yay! Buddy. Well, you know what? We just talked about how great the Cowboys were, Staubach, and with Tom Landry. Well, here's a little funny especially for you that don't necessarily like the Cowboys. How does a Dallas Cowboy fan change a light bulb? They don't. They just talk about how good the old one was.
Man, I've had friends who were Cowboys fanatics, and that they're still doing this, but they really did this about 10 years ago. They don't do it as much now because they realize time is just passing them by. But they do this a lot of now. Hey, man, I've had people say, what about our we have, well, how many Super Bowls do you have? We have 5. You do have 5. But what century was that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, what century?
Yeah.
Those 5. I mean, they're great. Look, they're fantastic. I mean, nothing to sneeze at. You're 5 and they're 5-2.
Mm-hmm.
In Super Bowl competition, right?
Yeah.
So that's all. Sure. No, excuse me. They're 5-3.
5-3.
The
Steelers, yeah. The
Steelers whacked them twice, and the Colts beat them. But you have a great Super Bowl. Right? Look, hey man. But the fact is, one of your Super Bowls needs an asterisk by it and needs a statue of Neil O'Donnell standing out.
Yeah.
Who gave you one?
That was, I think was the last one. Yeah.
It was. That was Barry Switzer with Jimmy Johnson's team.
Yep, and I think it was. I don't remember if it was Kevin Smith, but the one cornerback for Dallas that had 3 picks and returned the touchdowns.
Not Kevin Smith. It was Larry Brown.
Larry Brown. Yes, Larry Brown. He made a career. He got famous, got a big contract, and you never heard from him again after that.
Al Davis. Al Davis took him with the Raiders and said, "Oh, he made big plays in the Super Bowl. You're hired. Come on."
Yep. Oh, that's too funny.
I hope he saved his pennies.
Well, we have to have a few of these type of funny things a little bit. We got another one in a little bit. So, but hey, let me flip over to where we're going to go. We're going to look at the current standings in the league right now, and we're going to do it.
Okay.
Let's see here.
It's a bit of a mess, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of a mess. So is that large enough? Is that big enough for you to see? Or
I think I can see him. Yeah, I could see him.
Well, here you go. I'll make it a little bit larger. There you go.
All right.
That's a little larger. I did.
So we still got a lot of Boy, this week is going to be full of implications. So many games.
Absolutely.
It's
We'll look at the
playoffs
AFC.
this week.
Yeah, let's look at the AFC. It's so funny how you get a division like the AFC East where it,
right.
There's it's not even close. Your division winner was determined weeks ago and stuff. Oh, let me say hello to Ang. Hey, Ang.
Hello, Ang.
Back to you. So thanks for swinging by. But then, you've got the North and the West. The Bengals are ahead of the Ravens. And
look how few teams are not eliminated, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, when we look at the playoff implications, there's a lot of stuff on the line with the Bengals Ravens, especially in this week, considering that the Bills Bengals game was ultimately canceled. And we're going to look at some of that in a moment about what the situation surrounding the playoff implications for that. Right. But yeah, you've got, unlike the NFC, which has so few teams left. Yeah, there are wild possibilities this weekend between the Patriots, Dolphins, the Steelers. Hey, even if the Jaguars lose this week, they say that they could get in if I think the Patriots we'll look at that later, but there is a potential possibility that even the Jaguars could get in as a wild card. So,
I think you're going to beat the Titans straight up, though.
Yeah, but
where's the game?
The only problem with that, though, Clobby, is history. So many times in football, it comes down to psychology and history. I was there the time that the Jaguars were going to go to the Super Bowl. All this stuff had every home field advantage and lost to the daggum Titans on their own home field while your arch enemy celebrates on your field, and then they go on to the Super Bowl that year. There is just sometimes when things happen like that, it's psychology. Like I told you, like the catch stuck in my mind as a Cowboy fan for so long. The first time we finally beat the Giants and the 49ers in the playoffs to go to the Super Bowl was like we exercised the demon, So, and it's funny how you can get that way with some sports. So let me say hi to Brian Hepburn. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah, my mom loved the Cowboys. She kicked my brother out of the house for celebrating the 49ers win with the catch. Yes. That I had not read that comment before I said that again, Cobby. That catch was traumatic to a Cowboys fan.
Oh, yeah. So, it did a lot of things for a long time, As I've told you before, I'm a Saints fanatic, but as kids in the 70s, we were pretty young. And that when our team was Saints, like I said, we're usually out of it by November. So we did love the Cowboys as well, and we hated the Steelers. So we used to get our mom and dad would give us for Christmas Dallas Cowboys uniforms. I mean, the pads, everything, the helmet, all that stuff. So we loved it. But I remember one year, I think it was the 77 season where they won the Super Bowl, but they were coming close to the end of the season and they had a decent chance to go undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go on a Monday nighter, I believe it was, and the Cardinals beat them. And I remember my brother crying over it. He was, Cowboys losing. I mean, that's how much we loved them. I mean,
absolutely.
Yes, we still loved our home team, the Saints, but we were kids. Mm-hmm. And you want to, obviously football ends for you if you can't watch the playoffs. So it's just somehow we had this other team for us. Now, again, when I got older, and that's, when it didn't matter as much because it was still the Saints. And, the Cowboys were pretty much terrible in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Unfortunately. But, but I do love that 70s Cowboys team. They're fantastic.
Yeah, it's just like after the catch.
And I hate the 49ers.
After the catch, they just went downhill from there, and it just was like,
that year, that was the year, I believe, or that year or the year before, I think was when Montana started to come into his own. Again, this happens to the Saints a lot. It was against the Saints that Montana got everybody to stand up and take notice because we went in there. I think it was with Bum Phillips' coach. If I remember, it was before him, Dick Nolan. Went in there and had him 35-7 at the halftime. Archie Manning had a big game. Second half, would you believe Montana leads one of the biggest comebacks ever?
Mm-hmm.
In Candlestick. And I hate the 49ers. I hated him all throughout the 80s.
Yeah, a long time. So, hey, Brian's got another good point though. Didn't mind the Cowboy cheerleaders on Love Boat and other shows. Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely we didn't. And Snort Poopus is saying, I like living life dangerously. The only time I rooted for a team in a championship was for the Redskins in 1982. I was living in Dallas at the time. Yep.
Yes.
Well, at least you didn't say Commanders now. So they were officially the Redskins back in 82. So, but yeah, that just, that's too funny how that, how the Cowboy memories go. But Cobby, what's interesting, look at AFC South, though. Isn't it? Because look how bad the AFC South is compared to everybody else. One thing I've noted over the years is usually each conference has one division that's worse than the others. And sometimes, like before in the AFC, there have been times the East, everybody's at 500 or less. Sometimes it's been the West, but the last couple of years, it's really been the AFC South. It's like one of those things of, please put me in that division,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So as you pointed out, there's still quite a few teams. The Patriots, Dolphins are still alive. Steelers, Jaguars, Titans are still alive. So, and actually we'll look at the schedule in just a moment. As I mentioned, that the Jaguars.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. So much.
Where are the Jags playing? Where's that game being played?
That is going to be in Jacksonville.
Okay,
it is going to be Saturday night. Actually,
I do the Tennessee's a wreck. I mean that I know, and I'm following it this year. I've followed a little bit more than I did over the past couple of years, unfortunately, because you know why. But and I've started to follow a little bit just now, not just because of what we're doing, just because I don't know. I miss it a little bit, even though I wish I need to stay away. I can't stuff. But what I do know, and I don't follow it as intensely as I used to, is Tennessee's they're a cluster right now. So
they are. Tannehill's
aside from the running game. Yeah.
The earliest Tannehill can get back is the AFC Championship game. The first round draft or the draft pick this year, Willis apparently is a train wreck in 3 games. So they're going to Josh Dobbs, the former University of Tennessee starter, and
he did not play well the other day.
He'd been a backup in Jacksonville and in Pittsburgh, and he really hadn't played football in probably 6 or 7 years. Whenever he left college. It's a different thing being a practice field player and playing full speed, especially at this level. Even, and apparently this year the Jaguars have improved all across the field, offense and defense. And like you said about the only advantage that Tennessee will be the running game, but even Derrick Henry, if you can. The guy's a monster. He's actually from near Jacksonville, a town north of Jacksonville. He was a monster in high school. He was a monster at Alabama, and he's had a history of embarrassing the Jaguars quite a few times. There was a famous stiff arm thing on a 90-yard run a couple years ago, and he did it to several players. So,
he's a beast. He's a beast, yeah. Man.
But the problem is if you can't throw the ball, if you can't keep the defense honest. And one thing that I heard a commenter talk about the other day was penetration. If the Jaguars defense can get penetration, he can't get going. Back like him, though, that's the thing is if you can't get penetration once he gets rolling, you can't stop him.
Yeah. So, no, I think you're going to be all right, but you never know. Like I said, you still got to play the game, but I think you're going to be good.
Absolutely. So that's kind of where it looks like right there. As you can see how bad Tennessee offense, look at that, 282 points a game, 384 offense for the Jaguars. So,
wow.
That's how bad the Tennessee offense is this year. And, how do you win? In 6 games in a row, they've lost. That means they were 7-3 at one point. They were leading the division, actually. But then they went in a tank. The Colts went in a tank, have lost 6 in a row also. The Texans never got out of the tank. And look at that. The Jaguars won 4 in a row, including a game at home against the Cowboys.
Texans are on the clock.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in those 4-game win streak, though, Clobby, they beat the Cowboys in Jacksonville in that overtime game. Well, you know what happens in a small market like Jacksonville. when the
Right.
Cowboys come, the Steelers come, the Bills,
Oh, yeah.
it becomes a home game for the visiting team.
Yeah, they travel. The Steelers and the Cowboys, the fans, they travel big time.
But they fought through it. They won the game here. So they're expecting a big sellout. Actually, the other day they released standing room only tickets.
Wow, well,
which is
people
very
get excited, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big thing. Some people were talking about the league stiffed them on the scheduling that they were not Sunday night, because Sunday night will be the Lions and the Packers. But that's a game we'll talk about in a minute that also has playoff implications. But I'm sorry, Saturday night primetime, it's hard to feel like that's disrespectful, because you're getting that primetime game with nothing else against you. So, and that had not happened since 2011. That not having they've had a few Thursday night football games, but like Monday night or Sunday night games or Saturday have not happened since 2011. So it's a big game, a lot of excitement. So, okay. Well, that's where the AFC is currently residing. Let's look at the NFC really quickly. There we go. Let's see get this up. There you go. In the East, it comes down to this week, the Eagles, and we'll look at further the playoff situation in a minute. But see, the Eagles Cowboys are separated by a game. The Eagles have lost 2 in a row. Will they lose a third to the Giants this week? Who knows? Because then Dallas could slip in to win the East. The Vikings have walked away with the NFC North weeks ago. But like in contrast to your point with the AFC with so many teams, there's only 3 other teams eligible. Detroit, which, oh my gosh, Hades is for Detroit is still alive for the playoff spot. Can you believe that? Usually they're eliminated before Thanksgiving.
How about you got a year where the Lions and the Jags are both alive right now. That's cool.
There's your Super Bowl for this year. How about that?
That's it. That would be mine. The one I would want to see. I'd watch it. I like that. That was a Dan Harmon guy or whatever.
Yeah.
He's kind of a tough as nails, just like Peterson. They're kind of old school guys. Seem like.
Yeah, they asked one of the Jaguar players recently what the difference between this year and last year, when obviously Urban Meyer did not finish the season. What the difference is, and he just said one word. Coaching, and it's true. You get good coaching, you can, do a lot with the talent you have. But we have the Lions, the Packers, and Seahawks. There's only 3 teams left, and we'll look at that possibility. But the Saints, even though I think the Saints have won 3 in a row, but they got eliminated because the Bucks won last week. So, sorry, Clobby, but
they should have won another game. All it would have taken was 1. Yep. And however, they did go and take care of business and went on the road in Philadelphia. That was no chump change right there. Philadelphia could have used the win to clinch and get at least the 1 seed, but they've got problems of their own. But so look, Saints did a pretty good job in that game, and their defense was decent and fairly solid all year. For the most part, they couldn't. Their problem was they really just can't get do much on offense. They couldn't score. They don't have the receivers all put all there all the time. They really, especially I was watching in that game, they've had a lot of problems protecting the passer. Yeah, but Andy Dalton, has come on and done a fine job actually for him, considering. But they're not a team that has enough weapons, and they don't have anywhere near the weapons. They don't have the quarterback of the future yet. That he's not there, and Taysom Hill gets figured out to us. That Taysom Hill gimmick. I'm sorry, Dennis Allen. It's played out.
Yeah.
Every time he's on the field, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but every time Taysom's out there, it used to be was a pretty cool gimmick. Now the Swiss Army knife, they call him, and all that stuff. It's really not working anymore. Every time he's out there, we know he's going to get the ball.
Well, see, that's one of the things that I know my dad always told me growing up. There's a difference between college and NFL. That type of stuff may work a lot in college, but eventually in the NFL, you got people that are good and better athletes, and they adjust to things.
That's why they're supposed to be different. The NFL is so much like college football right now, yet it's not sustainable. He's running. Well, look at the Eagles. They've had a great run. That guy, yes, it will definitely carry you far when you got a quarterback that can do those things. Problem is, can he play a whole year? How many quarterbacks that do the things like Jalen Hurts does, or some of these other running quarterbacks. Was it Lamar Jackson? Where are those guys right now? They're on the sideline because they can't stay home. You running around out there, you're going to get the crap beat out of you. If you can't stand back there in the pocket, use your mobility to move around and be elusive, and yet not run the takeoff running. Look, and Patrick Mahomes can get away with it a little bit, but he's still great. He's a great pocket passer and has presence. So does Josh Allen, and yet still both those guys take too many chances.
Yeah.
But they're not like these guys who are run first either. They're still great young quarterbacks who can sustain. It's just that, I don't know, guys. You got to watch that running, man. It's never going to work. I mean, it's going to work. It'll get you far, but will you get through a whole season, and will you have a long career doing it? Is the question.
You might last 4, 5, 6 years, but then what happens?
And how many years do you finish?
No, exactly.
Steve Young did it in a tougher time when hitting was a lot tougher, and he had the one Super Bowl that was all arguably with what Walsh had left over there, and Seifert had kind of was there, but kind of with Walsh, a lot of Walsh's team, even though Seifert was the coach there, and it was also, I mean, it was kind of a weak league at that point. You had it was a loaded football team. After that, when you started having to rely on just one guy, and then the talent kind of thinned out a little bit for those 49ers, what happened? Steve Young played great, spectacular, fun to watch football. He never sniffed another championship. I mean, he would get close. Yeah. But you can't, if you're relying on your quarterback needs to be able to show up. And he's not showing up if he's getting the crap knocked out of him. And if he's getting beat all up like that, even the pocket passers take enough. They take enough punishment as it is.
Well, one of the recently good quarterbacks, Russell Wilson,
he's very mobile, but he was a pocket passer.
Now in Denver, but a recent article talked about he's had I guess this year's been frustrating with injuries and stuff, so he's going to have to look at his all-season routine, this year with training and stuff like that. But he's one that I've seen is always more of a, he runs a lot and exposes himself to danger too. But when they're having to sit there,
go ahead.
When you start taking those hits, they start mounting up. You might think that, you might be able to dodge a lot, but can you dodge enough to avoid those big hits?
At least Wilson, though, is more of a Tarkington, because remember, Tarkington ran around in the backfield. Tarkington didn't take off running that long. He didn't run a lot of yards forward. He moved around so much they couldn't find him. Now, Wilson, how often did he actually take off running down the field as opposed to moving around in the backfield and giving, receivers time to move around and get the ball down there? I saw Wilson as a mobile quarterback. That doesn't make him a run-first quarterback, and that distinction should always be made. Whereas a quarterback is just like a Michael Vick is the first run-first quarterback that made any kind of notoriety in the NFL as far as modern times was probably Randall Cunningham. He was spectacular, fun to watch. The guy was an unbelievable athlete. And he kept getting the crap beat out of him and getting hurt. And then when he comes back into the league a few years later and has that unbelievable year, 98 with the Vikings, he wasn't running the ball.
No.
He had Randy Moss and Chris Carter and Robert Smith, and he was chucking that sucker down the field, and he was a great passer. Michael Vick comes into the league. He's fun to watch. We all like it. Oh, man, he's so cool to do this. Great. How many Super Bowls did he win? And I'm not talking about before he got in trouble with the dog thing. So he kept getting. By the time the season was done, he was just beaten. He was like a bloody pulp by the time the season was over. And then that exhausts the team. So he comes back into the league years later after he's out of jail and all that stuff. He goes to work with Andy Reid, a true quarterback guy. And he turns him into a pocket passer. And they didn't win much, but they won. And he played better football. Well, was he more fun to watch? No. But he got the job done. Turned out he could pass and was a better, more heady quarterback.
Absolutely. And
you could tell that,
you could definitely tell the difference. And I forgot about that with Cunningham, that he had spent some time out of the league and came back, and he was a different type of quarterback completely. But in the NFL, you've got to be able to throw the modern NFL. You've got to be able to throw the football and have a quarterback that can be consistent.
Even Roger didn't run down the field that much. I mean, he was a dot. He was mobile. Roger was mobile. Fran Tarkington was mobile. Steve Young was mobile. Elway was mobile. but they weren't run firsters.
Right. Right. Dancing. What was named Tarkinen? Something about dancing or something.
What's that?
I thought Tarkinen had a nickname with dancing in it or something.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'll have to look that up later. But it was just like,
I don't know.
But I know what you're saying is you're evading. You were moving around. Yeah.
Right. Well, I wanted to tell you about this. That I love this show they used to do on NFL Network called Top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Great show. And one of the ones they did was the top 10 most mobile quarterbacks of all time. You would be flabbergasted if I told you one of the ones on that list.
Go ahead.
Mobile now.
Go ahead.
On the number 8 or 9 was Dan Marino.
Wow.
Dan Marino, like Troy Aikman and a few others, he's like a cigar store Indian. And in his 17 freaking year career, he ran for something like a total of 90 something yards.
Wow.
So people say, why is he on this list? I mean, are you crazy? Because it was his feet and his legs. He never ran forward. He was so great. He wasn't even scrambling too much either. His legs would move. His footwork was so good that he would avoid just a step to the right, step to the left. He was always so with a quick release that he was mobile in the sense that he got away. He avoided the rush. He avoided pressure by moving around with his feet in the backfield and getting the ball out of there so quick. Yeah. And he made the list. And you don't think, who would think of Dan Marino as mobile? He's the last guy you would think about in mobile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of how he got rid of the football with the quick release, and his footwork was. And there's the big thing with quarterbacks, dude. The footwork is not got to be. It's got to be there, and it means so much.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and like their job is to throw the ball. You just dance around back there, avoid. That's a big distinction, like you said right there, because a lot of the run first quarterbacks. The biggest thing that they had to break them of is the instinct to automatically, when nothing's there, immediately to just pull it down and run, and and you're giving up bigger opportunities plus your health. So
I didn't mean to get you sidetracked from the standings. So if you want to go back,
no, that was fine. No, that was great discussion. Well, we pretty much covered what we could with the standings, so we're going to get in the week's matchups and go forward. But I love that discussion, Claudia. It's awesome.
Cool.
That's what we're here for. That is what we are here for, my friend.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
So we're going to look at this week's matchups real quickly, and before we look at the playoffs possibilities.
Okay.
This week, Saturday, 2 matchups. The Chiefs are at the Raiders. I still can't get used to Las Vegas. Let me say this, and we can talk about it another show, Clobby. Because I always say on the college streams, and even thing for here, when I do prediction, it's not about gambling. I'm not a gambling site, blah, 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 and all this stuff. It's just weird how college has and the NFL has embraced sports betting and stuff like that, because in our generations you didn't want anything around because of competitive outcomes and stuff like that. You remember it's really odd to me to see the sports betting industry right now, and the fact that you have an NFL team in Vegas. But
it's crazy.
We can hit that for another show. That's a topic all of itself in history.
It's just, and the fact that if it were like an expansion team might be something, but the fact that it's the Raiders makes me crazy. Just drives me nuts. I hate it.
I think it's like the Raiders have moved more than I have in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, then also the night game on Saturday night for the control of the division. I'm talking SEC. The AFC South. The Tennessee Titans at the Jacksonville Jaguars.
But by the way, are the implications in that Kansas City game? Have they clinched already? They've clinched, hasn't they? Or have they clinched their division?
Let me go back to the.
Don't worry about it. I was saying.
No, it's okay.
I mean, if they need the game or not, it's going to be like a laugh.
Okay.
I can't imagine them putting that as a game that means something.
Well, the only thing
they got to see they clinched that game means nothing. Why are putting that one? They should have put that on Sunday.
They've clinched the division, but by winning, they will, I think, take that first seed overall. So
so they're playing for seeding.
Yeah, they're playing for seeding in that first round bye, though.
I still would have put that game, since only one team has playoff implications. Put one of the other games that was more playoff-ish. Then on the Saturday game, I think it's a little silly, but that's okay. At least I can watch them because they're on ABC.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey. So that's your Saturday matchups. Then Sunday is,
Uh-huh.
watch out the rest of the year. Tampa Bay, Atlanta. So Tampa Bay still alive. New England at Buffalo. Minnesota, Chicago, Baltimore at Cincinnati, which is a game we're going to talk about a little bit more. It has some ramifications, especially with things this week. Houston at Indianapolis, which is like the why bother game of the AFC South.
Wait, which one did you say again? I missed that.
Houston, Indianapolis. The two bottom
Yeah, they got some why bother games going on. We got a lot of them. We're vulnerable. So say Tampa, Atlanta. That's meaningful because of Tampa. Yeah.
Yep.
I had
New York,
Miami. A buzz thingy, so I couldn't hear you there for a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, New York, Miami. Miami's still alive, so that has some ramifications. Carolina, New Orleans, though, that's
garbage.
Cleveland, Pittsburgh means nothing.
Means
Los
nothing.
Angeles, Denver.
Well, Pittsburgh needs to win though. They're wild card alive.
Yeah, okay, that's right. I forgot about
New York.
That's the thing.
Miami still alive in New York? Are they still
Miami's still alive. We'll have to look at that in just a second. I got the graphic for that to see all this because the AFC is so jumbled up. There's so many possibilities on the AFC. It's hard to. You have to look at something to explain it. It's pretty simple on the AFC, but on the AFC side, you got to look at what it says.
But what you can know is if you look at the chart you had before, and you can just look at it on a different screen. If they've got an E, behind them,
yep, they're eliminated.
Then it doesn't matter. If either one of the two teams in any game isn't eliminated, then there's some kind of implications in the game.
Exactly. And I've got a better graphic that'll help us with that in a minute. New York, the Giants at Philadelphia. Hey, come on, Giants! I'm a Giants fan with Mark this week.
Yeah, with Mark. That's for Mark. Yes, everybody. Mark D.
Exactly.
Go Giants.
Yep. Arizona.
I hate the Eagles anyway.
I know. I'd love to have the Cowboys win the division. I don't think they'll get the overall top.
I don't know if Frisco needs that game or not.
Yeah. Frisco for seeding over Philadelphia or Dallas. Los Angeles, Seattle. Seattle's technically alive.
Okay,
Dallas is at the Commanders.
That's a big one.
Florida Poopas. And
I hate to root for Dallas, but I would no way would have worked for Washington in this game.
Dude, I tell you what, you are so right about those Commanders uniforms.
Just because they're Washington D.C., so the hell with them.
Yeah, but still, those uniforms, they did not help themselves. That's worse than probably some.
It's a dumb name too.
Uniforms. Oh gosh, but those uniforms, and then
if you wanted a name to strike fear into people, call them the Washington Taxers.
Taxers. There you go. We're the IRS. We're the Washington IRS agents.
Yes. Detroit, Green Bay. That's big.
That could be. I really like to see Detroit make a game of that. Because it's going to be cold there in Green Bay. You bet, and it just be. I really like to see Detroit do it this year for once.
Sure.
It just be nice to see somebody different. Because Aaron Rodgers has been around forever. Green Bay's had its shots and stuff, and for them to be just so average, Detroit, it'd be a feel-good story just to see how they can, it'd just be a feel-good story to see them actually move up a bit.
Yes, sir. And absolutely.
Daisy said Oakland, Los Angeles, Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders. Yes.
Yep. Oakland, LA, Oakland again, Las Vegas. It's ridiculous. At least they're not the Cleveland, Los Angeles, St. Louis, Los Angeles Rams.
Yes. Or what about the
Los Angeles, San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers? Because remember, the first year of the Chargers' existence, they were the Los Angeles Chargers.
Right.
In 1960, then they became the San Diego forever. Then crazy. Swamp critters. There you go.
It's funny with the Arizona Cardinals. I still think of them as the St. Louis Cardinals.
Well, yeah. I mean, they were originally the Chicago Cardinals.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
And then Chicago, then St. Louis, and then, and then Phoenix. Yep. They were actually the Phoenix Cardinals before they were the Arizona Cardinals.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
And then Brian Hepburn says they were never the same for me or my dad after they left Oakland the first time.
I understand. I remember even as a kid in the 80s saying, I don't like calling them Los Angeles Raiders. It made me sick. I mean, they're the Oakland damn Raiders. I know Oakland people didn't like it either, especially James Garner.
Oh, yeah. And I could see that happening. I mean, it's hard when you feel like your team abandoned you, and when they come back, it's not the same. You know,
Remember when James Garner used to be on the sidelines of Raiders games and all that stuff? And how many are old enough to remember that you talk about announcers again? Bill King, the voice of the Raiders. He always said, "Holy Toledo."
I don't remember Bill King, but I think I've heard that phrase, "the Holy Toledo." That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
a nice one.
Holy Toledo. That's Eric K. My buddy Eric K. was a old school Raiders fans. He remembers Bill King.
Oh wow.
Again, we were talking about last a little bit. Said some of the local guys are more known to people than national guys. But anyway, so
absolutely. Well, let's go ahead. We're hey, everybody that's here, we got 6 watching. Thank you. If you're on Twitch, follow us on Twitch, sub on the YouTube side. Thank you. And thank you for support. We're just here having some fun. Keep throwing some stuff in the chat as y'all get stuff, and we'll talk about it. So, Clobby, here we go. Here's a little bit better graphic showing the current positions in the playoffs. Let me go ahead. Okay.
Okay, dokie.
So, hit the wrong button again. Dad man, stop it. So, anyway. Currently, as it sits, the Kansas City Chiefs are at the first seed over the Buffalo Bills. You see that one game, that's been canceled.
That's going to be affect things big time.
Yes, and we're going to see. I've got an article about that. I think that'll touch on a lot of those. Okay, and it'll explain how it runs out. So that's one of those, and like with the Bengals also. That they're playing the Ravens, that's going to affect seeding. And so I've got an article that talks about those situations, which I think are really kind of unprecedented considering, what we've gone through, this week. The Jaguars, believe it or not, if they win, they would host a playoff game. Amazing, which. And then the Chargers, the Ravens, the Patriots have all clinched, which leaves the Dolphins and the Steelers this week. Which there is a scenario that the Jaguars could make a wild card berth if a certain combination of losses happen. So how that goes, believe it or not, that's why I keep telling people, you can find the geekery and the nerds. You can find all that stuff in sports by statistics, the drama and things like this. I mean, somebody like me, I love this type of stuff. This is why, in spite of when I've pulled away and stuff, like this is the time of year with just thinking about the possibilities makes the game exciting, So we got the Dolphins and Steelers down there 8-8. So, Clobby, I did have a question for you real quick.
Mm-hmm.
That situation, assume the Jaguars win, the Chargers say they win. So say the Jaguars end up 9-8, the Chargers end up 11-6.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that let me say a real quick thing to hello to a couple people real quick.
Sure.
Hi Jess, thank you for coming in. Glad you're here. Hilarious in the Major League Baseball playoffs a few years ago when Chicago Cubs were at the Cardinals. The music person played Chelsea Dagger, the Blackheart School.
Wow.
Oh gosh.
Wow. Hey Jess, I love the Dalek.
Yeah. Yep. And hi, Snow. Oh man, no noise. Hey, better late than never. And saying that, hey Castle, glad you're here too. Thank you for coming in. The question, what I want to ask you, is it a scenario when you have a situation where you have a division winner that has a worse record than a wild card team hosting a playoff game?
Yes.
Does division title matter to you more than record?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a time when that was not the case. They didn't do it. I can't remember the exact year they changed that back maybe in the 70s at some point. But yes, I think if you win your division, it should still be. That should be enough to at least host over. If you advance in the round of the playoffs, or yes, I think that's. You still won your division. I know, because if you go by record, it becomes even more muddied up and complicated. So let them. I say, do the other thing for the wild cards. In other words, for the wild cards, yes, go by wins and stuff. But if you won your division, you get to be at least a higher seed than people that didn't. Yeah. because
When I heard-
because you can't help what division you're in.
yeah. Well, when I heard more the debate was a few years ago, especially, and I think it might have
A
been
lot of people
the
don't like it. You're right.
Yeah, but I kind of understand because I think I don't remember which division was. You had a 7-9 division winner hosting a first round playoff, a wild card game playoff. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like you, is because you're rewarding somebody for winning their division, and you can't always assign it. And to my point earlier, like this year, how bad the AFC and the NFC South are. Well, that over time it's changed. I remember when the NFC East was the worst division in football. So you're always going to have a division or two that underperform compared to the other teams. But still, it seems like the important thing would be to focus on rewarding a team for actually winning their division. And I do agree with you with that. I just was curious what you thought with it.
I think you should get rewarded for it because again, it's just you win your division. And again, if they changed it, I wouldn't make me angry. But yeah, and you're going to have the years. The one case against it, I guess, is the NFC South is horrible. Saints. I mean, they're all bad, and they're all. The Bucks aren't really that good. They did not play well, but they just, Brady gets kind of weird when it comes to playoff time, though, and he starts to play better, even though all season he played. I watched him play most of the season. He's played like absolute garbage, and now he's starting to play better when it comes to something about the playoffs turns him up to 11. I don't know why, but 12, right? Because it was 12. But yeah, I understand what they're talking about because how bad a division can be, but I still like it. I still think you should have to, when the goal. See, when you have it this way, that means each team goes in with the goal to win their division. Because you know that if we win our division, we're in, and then anything can happen. It makes it too much like college football if you're going to start taking that away again and make it about just the records and the stats and stuff.
Nope, I agree. I understand because, like you said, too much like college football, and what happens with college football, you still got disagreements because it comes down to beauty contest and how your schedule works. Because then at that point, how many of these schedules are affected by which division you play? You got your common opponents within division, but what happens when your division gets to play a weaker division on the other side of the conference or within the league, and then some other team has to play like the Bills or the Chiefs every week? Those type of things. If you don't draw a standard somewhere, then subjectivity goes crazy.
It's not something I'm like super gung ho about, but I kind of something just feels more right about it being the division champions.
Absolutely,
hosting the games.
Absolutely, and see, I also did not mean to exclude the Tennessee Titans down there. They are still technically alive, but they pretty much have to beat the Jaguars to get in. As I understand it. So let's look at the NFC South. The NFC South. Okay. The Eagles still are currently in the first position. The Niners in second. The Vikings are third. See, that's what I don't understand. I guess I got to read all the tiebreakers and stuff they did because I remember the Cowboys beating the crap out of the Vikings. So, but because they're I know why, because they're not. The Eagles are ahead of them, so
did the Packers.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wouldn't even strain your brain too much on this week because it's such a mess. It's all going to shit. By the time the games are over Sunday, it'll all be lined up because this is a messy mess.
Well, like the thing is, I just want the Giants to win this week. Help me out, and then you got the Seahawks, Lions, and you got the Lions and Packers, and Seahawks down for the last two spots. So. It's going to be an interesting week. It's kind of fitting, though. We got two matchups. So Sunday night, the Lions and Packers for what's going to be a playoff spot, and the Jaguars Titans on Saturday night for a division title and possibly a wild card spot. So that is where things sit with that. Then, Clobby.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other thoughts before I show you what the scenarios are?
No, go for it.
Wait till you see all this. Okay. And this is an article from CBS Sports that I'm going to draw from here. And they talk about the fact the NFL decided Thursday night to cancel the Bills-Bengals game So Cincinnati Buffalo will only be playing 16 games while all other teams will be playing 17. So there could be a neutral site AFC title game, which will only take place based on these scenarios. The participating, what did I say?
Did you say neutral site AFC?
Yeah, neutral site. Yes, a neutral site AFC title game. If the participating teams played a different number of regular season games, and or the lower seeded team in the championship game could have been the number one seed if the AFC, if a full 17 game regular season had been played by all AFC clubs.
Huh?
I got another article about this, so you probably will understand why the Cincinnati.
No, I see what you're saying now. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it took me a second. I'm like, that's such a weird concept.
It's such a weird. I got the other article from the talking about the Bengals perspective. I mean, this is like new ground for everybody. But I thought when I first saw the headline that they were like with Buffalo that they were going to move the game because of such possibility of blizzards and cold and stuff like that. Then I found out this is the reason why it's a difference in games.
Okay, yeah. Oh my God.
So yeah, well,
it should have just played the damn game after a couple of days later.
Yeah. Well, here we go. With the top three seeds with the Chiefs can be either the first or second seed. They clinch a win, one seed with a win at the Raiders, or Bills loss versus the Patriots. So, and here's where it goes. If the Chiefs and Bills both win this weekend and they end up meeting in the AFC Championship, the game would be played at a neutral site. Because the Chiefs will have 17 games, the Bills would have 16.
One seed. Let's say when Raiders or Bills lose versus Patriots.
Yeah. But then if the Chiefs and the Bills, like I said, the next one is if they both win and they eventually meet in the AFC Championship, that would be a neutral site game. So if a Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals all lose this weekend, then a Bills, Chiefs AFC Championship would be played at a neutral site.
Wow.
If the Chiefs lose and Bills win, Buffalo would be the 1 seed, Kansas City would be the 2 seed, and the possibility of a neutral site game would not exist. So I guess they're basically rewarding Buffalo. If Buffalo, having played fewer games, actually gets ahead as seeded as 1, then they would host the game. Kansas City would have to go on the road. So
that's not too fair to Kansas City.
You wouldn't think, and if the Chiefs and Bills lose and Bengals win, a Bills Chiefs or Bengals Chiefs AFC Championship game would be at a neutral site. This is why I say the way that sports are now, you can go all kind of nerd crazy on this stuff, and although it drives traditionalists like us crazy things. Wow. All right. Well, let's look at the Bills.
Mind boggled here.
I know. Well, that's why I said I've got to look at something because I can't figure it out, and I can't, definitely not smart enough to remember all this stuff. So Bills,
I can't remember that.
Yeah, the Bills can be a 1, 2, or 3 seed by clinching. They can clinch a first round bye and home field advantage through the playoffs with a win and a Chiefs loss, which would mean no neutral site championship game. They would be a 2 seed with a win and a Chiefs win, or loss and Bengals loss if Bills and Chiefs win. And they meet in the AFC Championship, it would be at a neutral site. Okay? They would be a 3 seed with a loss and a Bengals win. Cincinnati would get the 2 seed in this scenario because it already clinched based on the strength of victory tiebreaker. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If the Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals all lose this weekend, then a Bills-Chiefs AFC Championship game would be played at a neutral site. So, all right. How about that for you?
Explosion. Okay. My head just exploded.
I know. Well, don't. I hope I don't lose you, Clobby, but we're getting through it.
No.
We get the AFC will be good. The Bengals clinch the AFC North, but they can only be a 2 or 3 seed. They clinch a 2 seed with a win and Bills loss, because the Cincinnati would get the 2 seed because of strength of victory tiebreaker. Would be a 3 seed with loss or the Bills win. The Bengals lose and they're matched up with this is going to be addressed in that other article that I was telling you about that we'll go to next. The Bengals lose and they're matched up with the Ravens in the AFC wildcard round. My favorite tiebreaker of all time, Clobby, the coin toss. Yes. would
Oh, my
determine the home
God.
field advantage. The specific scenario for that to occur would be for the Bengals to lose at home to the Ravens and for the Chargers to win at the Broncos.
Why don't they just get the two quarterbacks out on the field, let them have a throwing competition through hoops, through tire hoops that are swinging, and whoever gets the most, they win the friggin' game? I mean, this is ridiculous.
If the Bills and Chiefs lose and Bengals win, a Bills Chiefs or Bengals Chiefs AFC Championship would be at a neutral site.
Oh, God. I can't even. This is one ear out the other, man. It's so complicated. Who in the hell? I mean, there's no one's ever going to understand this. Fans are going to sit there going, wait a minute. Because I'm going, wait a minute. And I thought I understood most of NFL playoff football. I understand how it gets complicated, but this is different because none of this has ever happened before.
No, it's the whole thing.
shite.
I mean, it's like if you've won, but because it's not your fault that some other team did not play as many games, you're going to get punished for it. Yeah.
This is outrage. This is asinine.
Okay, well, we're through the hard part, Claudia, so stay with me. Although
I'm trying.
I think we're
I
losing.
can't guarantee that I'm remembering any of it because it's like,
It's
wow.
like I said, I got to write it down. I can't talk about it. I got to have it written down. And poor Daisy, please don't let me lose you, Daisy.
Hang in there, Daisy. Daisy.
Yeah. Okay, so now here we get a little simpler, Clobby. We through all the drama.
Oh, my goodness.
AFC South title, Jaguars clinch win with a win or tie against the Titans.
Sure.
The Titans have to win at the Jags. Okay.
Fair enough. Easy.
So that's easy. So the 7th seed wild card is the Patriots clinch with a win at Bills or a Dolphins loss versus Jets, and steal. So it's either Patriots win at Bills, they're in, or the Dolphins loss versus the Jets and the Steelers losing to the Browns and the Jaguars winning against the Titans. But see, Cobby,
At least we're used to this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're used to this kind of stuff. For fans out there, this is a more normal wild
That's
scenario.
normal.
Yeah.
Crazy. We used to get remember back when we used to go, wow, that's messed up. That's convoluted.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Not 2023.
Not anymore.
You just blew that out the window. Well, see,
Wow.
these are really easy now. The Dolphins clinch with a win versus the Jets, and the Patriots lose at the Bills. So, I mean, there are going to be a lot of people cheering against the Patriots, I think, this week. The Steelers, like to your point, still alive, win against the Browns, and the Dolphins lose the Jets, and the Patriots lose at the Bills. So the Steelers need the Dolphins and the Patriots to lose. So, and then the Jaguars can either clinch a division title in a 4th seed, or if they lose to the Titans, they need all 3 Dolphins, Patriots, and Steelers to lose
To win the division. Yeah.
to make a
win
wild
their
card,
division.
last wild card. So. And
That
I'm
means
sorry,
they
I
get the wild card.
Castle
Sorry.
here. Castle, a very smart college student.
Sorry, Castle.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my
we need
gosh.
S here for this. S should be here for this.
I know that. Yeah, that definitely. I did not realize that it was this complicated. Otherwise, I probably would have told. Hey, you got to come by and help us interpret this stuff.
Yeah, where are you, Ash?
Yeah, I sent him. I tagged him earlier though, but he's probably busy. And plus, it's like 2:00 in the morning over there. So, but I know he would love this. So, all right. So let's look at the NFC scenarios. The number 1 seed, the Eagles clinch it with a win tie against the Giants. Cowboys lose tie. Commanders, 49ers lose tie versus the Cardinals. The 49ers clinch the 1st seed, which is a bye, includes a first round off week, the win against the Cardinals, and an Eagles loss for the Giants. So it looks like they have the heads up on the Cowboys. So Cowboys clinch the 1st with a win at the Commanders. Eagles lose, 49ers lose or tie the Cardinals. So, which I don't think it's very likely for that 49ers loss, but you never know.
Yeah.
So the NFC title comes down to the Eagles clinch by winning or the Cowboys losing, and the Cowboys have to win against the Commanders and have the Eagles lose to the Giants. And I've already seen stories about, resting your starters if one team is up bigger or less or whatever else.
They're going to do that, yeah.
Hey, you know what, Claudia, is kind of cool is we've got 9 people watching us, and that's after that.
Hey, buddy.
It's after that astounding playoff scenario from the AFC we did.
I think you handled it well, dude. I think you handled it very well.
Like I told you, I had to read it. I had to get it in writing, and credit to CBS Sports for the information.
I'll never understand it, but that's okay.
I don't either. All I know is, see, like the NFC East title is simple for us. That's old school. So basically, that's the only division, the NFC division, that's still up. The 7th seed wild card is simply the Packers win against the Lions. They're the 7th seed. The Lions clinch the 7th seed with a win at the Packers and a Seahawks loss or tie versus the Rams, or a tie versus the Packers and Seahawks loss for the Rams, or a tie versus the Packers and Rams, Seahawks tie, and Commanders win versus Cowboys. Folks, these are normal. These are the ones that me and Clobby can handle.
At least something you're always this every year.
Yeah. So that sounds complicated, but that's nothing as we found out from 2023.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly complicated, but not like that other gobbledygook.
Well, and the other one involved a coin toss too. That's what I'm waiting for.
That's wow.
And then the Seahawks can clinch playoff position with a win versus the Rams and a Packers loss tie versus the Lions, or tie versus the Rams and Lions Packers tie and Commanders loss tie versus the Cowboys. So it looks like the Seahawks need a lot more help than the Lions, and the Lions need, they've got to win. It's kind of weird how that works. Packers win, they're in, but the Lions have to win and have to have the Seahawks lose, and then the Seahawks have to win. That gets even confusing.
You got me.
But that's why we keep this handy to us and just watch the games and watch the scores.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's all you can do, Clobby. So.
Yep.
Oh gosh, I know. I'm going to try to get through a couple of these real quick, but move on here with this with the because now we have to talk about this article a little bit, and I do want to get to what you wanted to bring up too. In just
it's no big deal.
Yeah.
What do you want to do, man?
So
what we got here?
Yeah. Basically, it's the NFL approves a plan for possible neutral site AFC title game. Also, according to ESPN, the NFL owners approved a plan with the possibility of a neutral site game, and could determine home field advantage for a wild card game between the Bengals and Ravens by a coin flip, like we mentioned a minute ago. So with the Bills Bengals game being canceled, the scenarios are Buffalo, Kansas City, both win or tie. A championship game between the two would be at a neutral site. If Buffalo, Kansas City both lose and Baltimore wins or ties, Bills Chief championship game would be at a neutral site. Again, back to 17 games and 16 games played by the respective teams. If Buffalo and Kansas City both lose and Cincinnati, which is 11-4 wins, Bills or Bengals versus Chief championship would be at a neutral site. Remember, because the Bills and the Bengals would have only played 16 games, the Chiefs would have 17 games. So now if the Bills or the Bengals, anyway, I won't go into that possibility. So, because I'm going to get the meat of the story. So then if the Ravens win Sunday against the Bengals and are matched against Cincinnati in that AFC wildcard weekend, the site could be determined by a coin flip. Why don't do a coin flip for the championship game? Anyway, it's just. But if Cincinnati wins, or if the two teams are not matched against each other after a potential Ravens win, regular scheduling procedures would be used. There's your exception. One more exception. How about that? So a 3/4 majority, 24 of the 32 owners were needed to approve these changes. The NFL said a resolution would be in place for the 2022 season only. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the potential neutral sites have not been determined. The seeds will hold up through the playoffs. So if both Kansas City and Buffalo win this weekend, the Chiefs get the bye to the divisional round. If Buffalo wins, Kansas City loses, the Bills will be the number 1 seed, get the bye, in which case no neutral sites come into play, which means Buffalo would host the championship game against Kansas City.
Right.
So apparently the plan changes were made Friday over the apparent objection of the Bengals. Their coach, Zach Taylor, saying his team felt it was at a disadvantage by the proposal. Taylor said, it's important for the team to know that because somebody's got to fight for you. It's clearly not coming from the league. It's nice to have our ownership and front office support the players like they have. It's important for us. So, and then it mentions about the game being suspended on Monday night with it. And fortunately, it sounds like Hamlin's making a recovery there. It's I saw today that he was
Yeah,
FaceTiming
they say
his
he's doing okay,
teammates
doing
today.
better.
So, and that's
Which is good.
that's most important here.
Right.
But in announcing the decision to cancel the game Thursday, the NFL cited 3 factors. 1, the outcome would have no bearing on which teams qualified for postseason. 2, playing the game would not have altered the playoff schedule for the remaining teams. And 3, not playing the game would allow all clubs to know the postseason possibilities before the start of Week 18. Do you know what the playoff possibilities? I still can't figure it out.
No,
but hey,
I can't do it. My brain will blast out of my eyeballs.
Oh well, Bengals Executive Vice President Katie Blackburn, who's on the competition committee, which approved the scenarios Thursday, urged teams to vote against the scenarios. And the reasoning stemmed from the timing of a rule change in this scenario is away from the standard of winning percentages. It quoted, "The proper process for making rule changes in the offseason. It is not appropriate to put teams in a position to vote for something that may introduce bias, favor one team over another, or impact their own situation when the vote takes place immediately before the playoffs." And
if they had gotten off their butts and just said, instead of all this crap, said, let's play the game on Thursday.
mm-hmm.
A few days later, then the 2 games that they were supposed to play Sunday, push those back to the following Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And all the games would be played. You wouldn't need all this mess.
And you could even and even if the point is, well, they would be tight to because the playoff game starts Saturday, Sunday. Well, you know what? Slide the first round of the playoffs back to Sunday, Monday, or something.
Yeah, but
for an extra day.
That's true, but I mean, it would just have to deal with it.
Yeah,
better than not having the game played.
Yeah, no, because it's. Yeah, I understand. I do agree. Of course, Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, said there's no perfect solution. So, and they've considered the football schedule. Our principles have been to limit disruption across the league and minimize competitive inequities.
What you do is, after the things I just mentioned, where you go the Thursday, then you go next Wednesday, your playoff week, which would have Saturday and Sunday games, your first week, the ones that, if any of the teams that were involved in those laterly played games, just push those back to Monday.
Yes.
I mean, they didn't get a lot of time to get ready, but it's the playoffs anyway. Sorry, Chief.
Yeah.
It would have been a problem. It wouldn't have been easy, but you at least the
and
games
you know
would have been played.
And you know what? One other thing too. Let me finish one thing with this article. That apparently the Chiefs abstained from voting on it. And the sources said that thinking the teams directly impacted by the changes should not vote due to bias, and which is to the Bengals VP's point too. But the whole thing is, the other thing with that, Clobby, too, is the fact that this is not the 1970s of football or even the 80s where they're practicing hard every day. At this point in the season, they're watching video, playing basically touch football out there. It's not college either. They're not hitting each other to that extent. So do you really have to have that extra day of prep because you're not
You can do without it this once.
Exactly. I mean, we talked about that last week. Do you even need a preseason anymore?
You know, you're right. They could do without it.
Yep. So, Clobby, I hope that helps get clear a little bit of that for you.
Sure. Way to go, man. Thanks.
Oh my goodness! So
thanks for taking away my will to live. I didn't have much of it left anyway. Thank you, NFL.
Oh, exactly. That's what the NFL is for. Let me show you one more. Let me show my other funny thing that I had here real quick. Do you want to hold the story for next week?
We could run.
How much time do you have? If you got time, we can go through it.
It'll only take a few minutes, but that's fine. Okay. But do what you got to do.
No, we'll do it tonight. I got plenty of time. I got
about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If you want to.
Okay, well, let's do it then. Let me pull up this last funny story then, and then we'll get to that story. I'm just trying to make sure. There we go, and we are here. We had a cowboy meme earlier.
Okay, yeah. There's my Saints. Saints throwback jersey, yeah, pretty much, because that's the only quarterback we're ever going to have for the next 40 years, and he's gone.
And the Jameis Winston thing didn't work out either, did it?
Well, no, who thought it would? I didn't think it. Well, there's some people that still think still give him another chance. Whatever. My heart's not in it anymore, so yeah, that's it. That's you got when you get blessed with a Hall of Fame quarterback, especially one that plays for you for about 15, 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be after that. It's going to be down for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very few times in NFL history has one Hall of Fame quality quarterback followed another. It doesn't happen that often. So,
well, look at Denver. I
It's
mean,
happened,
Elway
but just not
retires.
often.
Denver took forever to find a quarterback. Buffalo replacing Kelly. The Dolphins still look for quarterbacks.
Maybe that's what I'm saying. It just doesn't happen that often. Yeah, you had Young in Montana. That was a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
You had Rodgers and Favre. Okay, but again, name me all the other ones where that happened. I'll wait. So usually doesn't happen that way. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you might get a decent quarterback after once in a while. A decent one's come along after a Hall of Famer. It's just again, and it may not say it won't happen again, but it's not. It's tough.
Yeah, it's just it does not. It's like Danny White was never the level of Roger Staubach. He never performed.
No.
And then of course but he was better than who came after him. Hogaboom and all those guys.
Hogaboom and
a
couple of those other who's that other dude?
That's too. That is very true.
Sad but true. Well, it always is, man.
It truly is.
Yes, sir.
So let me pull up this last story that we got, and I know that's one that you really like here, Clobby, and
I'm a big fan. I've been to the Hall of Fame, and I'd love to go again and visit it again. And that's something that means history means a lot to me. But lately, some of the nominees, but they everyone, for those who don't know, the Super Bowl, they announced the upcoming finalists for the NFL Hall of Fame.
Yep, the finalists for 2023 have been revealed.
They'll choose I don't know how many of these guys, but so
I think it's based on a percentage of vote. So,
but they'll choose what does it turns out to be like 10 of them, or I can't remember how many actually get in, but
yeah. Well, they began with 129 nominees, and the group of nominees was to 28 semifinalists. So it's even cut down from there to the finalist. Some of the names that I noted: Jared Allen, the defensive end, played for the Vikings. That's where I remember him more, is from the Vikings.
Yeah.
Willie Anderson was
Flipper Anderson. Yeah. Well, okay. If you don't mind, I guess I could just give you a comment on each one of them.
Go ahead, Cobby. Go ahead. Yes,
Jared Allen. Okay, again, I think we're confusing this with the Hall of Very Good, because he was very good. Is he Hall of Fame? I mean, Willie Anderson, his career was a little too short. No, that's not Flipper Anderson. I thought it was Flipper Anderson. Willie Anderson, I'm sorry, his career was Willie Anderson, I don't think belongs on the list. The offensive tackle, not Flipper. I was thinking of Flipper for some reason. His name was Willie Anderson. It was a different one. Rondé Barber, yes. I get it.
Yep.
Dwight Freeney, maybe. I can see it. He had a pretty good career.
Well, being some from the AFC South, he was very dominant in the division games, especially against the Jaguars a lot, so
sure.
Yeah. So I think it depends on probably how much you see him, because I can tell you more about him because often they play the Jaguars.
Well, he was great. Now we're talking Hall of Fame though.
All right. Hello, Aiden Plays.
Hey,
yes, we are talking.
Aiden. Hey there.
You're talking American football, NFL.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay, Devin Hester. Well, he was a kick returner. Great. Maybe the greatest kick returner. NFL Network did their top 10 list, and they have the number one kick returner of all time, which I'm not sure he should have been. A phenomenal short bunch of years. I don't think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. Torrey Holt. Again, yeah. I mean, not a long enough career, but big numbers. I don't know if you have any.
Look where he ended his career.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah, Andre Johnson, no. Again, did he have a long enough career? I know poor old guy had to be with the friggin', Texans, but man, I don't know about that one either. You? I mean,
Of people that I've seen on the list, I would say yes more than Torrey Holt, Devin Hester. Those two, because he did change the game. He was dominant when he played for the Texans.
Yeah, but he had Isaac Bruce on the other side. He had Ricky Prohl. He had Marshall Faulk on the team too. I mean, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, who are you going to guard?
True.
Who are you going to put double coverage on?
That's so a good point.
Yeah, he had Hakeem as well. I don't know, man. That was tough. Who you pick and choose who you're going to get burned by. But I hear you. I mean, that doesn't make him not great though.
Yeah,
Andre Johnson, on the other hand, never had any other kind of guys like that, and he was pretty amazing.
But like you said, though, I think no matter what the sport, it could be hockey, baseball for sure. The guys that when it was back the 70s and 80s, I know I'm going back a long time again. The guys that got in had to earn it. They changed the game and they really earned to be the Hall of Fame or Hall of Greatness. What all these things are is like you said, the Hall of Very Good. You got some good players. Yeah, their stats may be better than some of the old guys, but when you watched them, did they really deserve that?
I can think of a couple people that aren't on this list. I'm going to mention after we get done with the list.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead with the rest of your comments.
No. Okay. Albert Lewis. Yeah, I can see a case for him. I mean, he's about as far back as this list goes, which is pathetic. You got Darrelle Revis again. Yeah, for a while. Is there enough there? I don't know for him to be that great. He was a great player for a short time. I don't know about Darrelle Revis. I mean, this is just the finalists, but Joe Thomas, maybe it's iffy. He was a really good player. He was a dominant left tackle, so maybe they're rare. So, and here's the one you can probably not going to want to hear, but my Dolphins fans, Zach Thomas. Again, was he really around long enough? I mean, Zach Thomas was pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. None of these guys are. I mean, all of them are good. They're good. DeMarcus Ware, I could kind of see it. I'm close to it on that. I'm iffy. Reggie Wayne, yeah.
He was a good receiver.
He was on the other side of Marvin Harrison, and he had Dallas Clark, and of course he had Peyton Manning throwing him the football.
But as an AFC South person, he didn't do anything really special.
No, he was really, really good. And that's about it.
But he was very, very good, but
Okay, Patrick Willis, no, didn't play long enough. Really good. Mm-hmm. Darren Woodson, shoe in.
Mm-hmm.
Darren Woodson, no problem.
Yep.
But this list these idiots have yet to put Jim Marshall. They took forever to put Charles Haley. But and there are a couple other guys they took forever on, and some they're still dragging their feet on. Jim Marshall's still not on the list. I mean, the guy, he only played like 200-something thousand games, played for so long, and was one of the Purple People Eaters. He's the only one of the Purple People Eaters who's not on the list.
Is he the one that recovered a fumble and ran the wrong way?
And that's probably why they're penalizing him. So I don't care, man. The guy was unreal with his.
What would you punish him for that? If anything, that's something to be famous for. But anyway, let's say hi to our buddy Mark D with a C.
Mark D with a C. Yeah, Flipper Anderson he destroyed us too.
Hey, Mark got to know his dad through work. That's pretty cool. So who would you add? You kind of alluded to that.
Well, Jim Marshall's the biggest glaring one. I mean, there's some other ones. Oh God, I have somebody. I know it's weird because of numbers. Jim Plunkett probably needs to be on the damn thing. He, as a broken down old quarterback, got 2 Super Bowls for the championships for the Raiders, and he languished in the league on crappy Patriots teams. But I mean, I know, so you can't give him by the numbers. He has terrible numbers, but don't the rings matter when you get that old and you still bring those? I mean, you give that team 2 championships. I don't know. So I think you can make not a statistical case, but at least a philosophical argument for Jim Plunkett. It took him forever to put Stabler on there. Remember, he wasn't until he passed away.
And that's tragic.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to think about it long, hard to think of some of the other ones that are not on there yet. It took them forever to put Art Monk on there. How long it took? Look how long it took for Chris Carter to get on there.
Yeah.
So some weird. Charles Haley, that one took way too long. So it just takes too long on some of these guys. So yeah, Jim Marshall's my big one. Jim Marshall's the one that.
And see, that's tragic because I mean that is a famous play in NFL history.
Unless they stuck him on there recently and I didn't see it.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame is like, do something famous, something worthy to be famous for. I mean, I don't know, Clobby. They don't ask us, that's the problem. If they let us choose everything, it'd all be right,
Yeah. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame.
No.
I still think they keep putting him on the list, but he doesn't make the finalist.
Yeah.
Let's see if they put him in there yet.
See, in Jacksonville, they had a big thing. Jacksonville's not done anything as a franchise to deserve league-wide reputation. And I just because they've had a couple great seasons, but no real dominant players and dominant seasons. Not like consistency. But I know it was always a big gripe. They're like, like Tony Baselli, a famous left guard out of USC.
Did he make it last year?
He finally made it last year, but there was so much complaining and pushing for him and stuff. But I think to your point, though, I'm not a fan of linemen in the league, but he was towards the end of his career. He could barely play because of injuries and stuff, And yeah, he had a great 5 to 6, 7 year period. But when you look at the players before and how long they played to make the Hall of Fame, you can question it based on length of time in the league and length of exposure in the league. And, so that's a debate that happens with a lot of these people that end up getting nowadays. Great left tackle. He was feared and stuff.
Just didn't play very long.
No, he didn't. And the thing was, they used him in the Texans expansion draft. He was left out there, and the Texans took him. And, I don't even know he suited up for them because of the shoulders. But
it took them till 2018 to put Jerry Kramer in the Hall of Fame. He was 82 by then. That was ridiculous.
Like Jerry Kramer from the 70s, Minnesota quarterback.
The 60s. The guys, he made the famous block in the Ice Bowl for Bart Starr.
Oh, my gosh.
And they took – it was like others have said, he was on when they came to do the 75-year anniversary all NFL team, he was the guard. And he didn't make the Hall of Fame until, what was it? Like in 2018. It was stupid. At least Morton Anderson got in there. We got a couple, there weren't any, our poor old Saints didn't have anyone in there until about maybe 10 years ago. We didn't have anybody. Ricky Jackson finally got in. Let's see here. It's just I can't remember some of the guys I'm drawing a blank on now. But point being, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Some of the guys they leave out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, thank you for joining me tonight, Clobby.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you to everybody that's come through the chat. And that's been here lurking or whether you're lurking, you watch it later on replay, and if you come in a little bit or come in at the end, you're all appreciated here. So I think tonight, Clobby, we previewed Week 18 pretty good. Yeah. Blew everybody's minds away with the playoff possibilities and everything else. But don't quite leave yet, folks, because I've got a few announcements that I need to make. Clobby, did you have any other thoughts about the week?
No, not at all, man. Thanks for having me, and good to see you all, everybody.
Absolutely. Well, I want to just kind of preview a couple things coming up. And that's what I wanted to say. I know, see y'all later and stuff, but do stay around. I'll try to be quick. So, next Monday night is actually no, it's this Monday night. Dadgum, how the thing it sits on pause. Yes, thank you. How fast it turned around, but we got a college football national championship Monday night. So Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to have one last – maybe I'll do a recap show at the end. Who knows, whatever. But we're at least going to have a preview of the national championship game featuring the Georgia Bulldogs versus the Texas Christian University Horned Frogs. I've got special guest Ushi's Geeky that's coming in representing the SEC, even though she's a Tennessee fan, and the great Whoopa Troopa representing the Big 12, even though he's a Baylor fan. So I got experts from both conferences coming in to join me on Sunday, where we're going to look at the game coming up Monday night. And
that's Monday night. Then?
Yep, Monday night is the championship game. Yep,
I think it's going to be Georgia and TCU, huh?
Georgia, TCU.
Yeah, I could watch that on ABC. I probably can't even watch it because I don't have a ESPN.
No, because they put everything on college towards the NBC towards the ESPN station.
I can't watch it.
That's what's frustrating. Yeah. Well, I got that announcement, but folks, I've got one more thing that I need to tell y'all about, and hopefully y'all still here. I see all the thing. Next week, Claudia and I. Oh no, hold on, see. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. You can watch it later. We always, good. We're always loving to hear the Snorted Poopas Q Burr. And, we'll see what happens. And, can always catch it later or watch it afterwards. But Claudia has agreed to come on next Thursday night. We'll do it 7 p.m. instead of Friday as usual. So we'll be Thursday night, 7 p.m. this coming up week for the NFL talk. And we'll preview the first week of the playoff action, and hopefully we'll know a little bit more and our minds will not be so blown out, but we'll have to see what the matchups are then, right, Clubby?
Yes, sir. We'll see. We'll know by then.
Yeah, but folks, what I want to do and what I said in my tweet earlier is a big important announcement about a stream coming up, and what the reason why we are shifting, and I'm grateful to Clubby for us doing it still and doing it on Thursday night, is next Friday night is, I don't know how long she's how she's been able to put me up with me so long, but everything I can do here is so much supported by my wife, Mrs. Dadman Walking. Can't be done without her striving to put out great graphics and just help and support and love from her for this channel and for everything else. But fact is that she's been my wife next Friday, 27 years. So we are going to have another date night stream with the Dadmans. And it'll be our 27th anniversary date night special next Friday at 8 p.m. Come by, celebrate with us. I mean, even if you don't like Fortnite watching it, just come by, say hi, leave a like, sub, just come hang, and who knows what we'll chat about, because I'm a chatterbox and she'll throw something at me to tell me to be quiet because stop talking so much. But yes, absolutely. And, we appreciate all y'all's support and love. And this has been an interesting year. 2022 has been for us. And we look forward to a better 2023. And just so many great people that we've met along the way. All you people in the chat, people I stream with, like with Mark, D with a C, who's in the chat. And Clobby.
Yes.
Great people that I've gotten to know. You're great. You're one of the great ones that I've gotten a chance to get to know more with streaming and things and stuff like that.
You're too kind, buddy.
You've been gracious to me and my whole family. And Snorted Poopa says his tiny bear brain is always blown out, and a happy anniversary. Hey, yes, what happens in the bushes stays in the bushes. And thank you guys.
Yes,
thank you all for the love. And yes. Yeah. Make sure, tell if it was like yesterday that you meant not to. I tried to do that. I remember that. So, this is why I love the humor. Love it. Nobody's supposed to know. And then Snorted Poopa duct tape snoot. But you guys are great. And I hope y'all can join us next Friday. Even briefly, just say hi. And who knows if we'll chat about some stuff. Who knows, whatever. But just spend time with our friends, that we've met this year, and just have some fun. You can watch her yell at me because I'm going the wrong direction again, getting lost, which is not new, but that's it. That's the big announcement that I wanted to let y'all know, and hope to see y'all. And then, as always, you can catch us. The best way to keep informed when we go live and when we do stuff is on Twitter, DadmanWalking55. And our live streams and our VODs are on both youtube.com at dadmanwalking55 and on Twitch TV, twitch.tv dadmanwalking55. Go out there. I encourage you to check out some of the old stuff, some of the old football streams that have been this year. I keep repeating it. Our guests have been great. They've got great stories to tell. If you just watch that part, we've had some history things. We're doing some detours with the Dadmans with some of our traveling adventures. You know, if you don't like football so much, we're trying to roll more content out now. The football season's winding down. So, and that is, and yes, this is very important. Let me go back to this here. Not only did she have the veil there, that is a banana leaf bouquet and a banana leaf boutonniere there. That's the attention to detail she puts into these graphics, and I cannot afford her. I cannot pay enough, even when she buys everything on Amazon. But it's, you know, love you, sweetheart, and thank you for all that you do. So, alrighty. Well, I'm going to go out on that frame tonight. Clobby, thank you again.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Good to see you all here tonight. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be here, my friend. Thank you, and everyone have a great weekend.
Absolutely. And look forward to seeing you next week. And everybody, thank you again. Y'all have a great night, great weekend. We'll see if a stream comes up before Sunday, but if not, join us Sunday at 5 for the college football show, and definitely next Friday night at 8 p.m. We'll have some fun together. So I had to read this one. The keeping steered the right way. Bananas have I get lost all the time, Snortopoopas. So, oh man, you know, how do you keep up with your chat sometimes, Clobby?
I can't. It's not possible.
He waves a paw. So I'm just going to say that thank you, everybody. Love y'all. Have a great night, great weekend, and we will catch you later. Bye, all.
Take care, everybody.